Well, I think the fact that the China economy and particularly its property sector in a difficult situation is well known around the world. With regard to the property sector, it's particularly bad for sure. We've seen for the top 100 developers in China, every month for the past 10 months, we've seen negative sales figures compared with the previous year. In the first quarter of this year, property sales from those top 100 developers were down about 48%. But funnily enough, in March, we did see a bit of a pickup in the top 30 or 40 property developer sales. So I think people are grabbing onto that and perhaps thinking that that might be the beginning of a turnaround. I think it's too early to come to that conclusion, but I think that's possibly what people are looking at. Secondly, I think it's wrong to be totally universally negative about the sector. A lot of the publicity we see in the media is about the sales of the property developers. The secondary market, the second-hand property market, is extremely active and very buoyant. And in fact, monthly property sales in the secondary market throughout the country last year were up on what they were in 2022. And for example, in the top tier 1 cities, the secondary market accounts for 75% of all residential transactions. And in the top 35 tier 2 cities, that accounts for 40 to 50% of total transactions. So consumers are happy to buy property, they're just not happy to buy it off the property developers who are having financial problems.
So I would surmise that that's because they don't necessarily trust that they're going to be put to completion in terms of getting the property, but in the second-hand market, obviously, it's there, it's built. But can I ask you in terms of having, do we have price transparency? Because I would imagine in the secondary market, has there been any uplift from what you've gathered in terms of the data, in terms of the pricing there for these properties? Because, you know, we talk about new home sales, but no one's talking about secondary sales like you just mentioned.
Yes, in terms of, you have to be a bit careful about looking at the published data that come out of the central authorities. For example, the National Bureau of Statistics reports from the peak that new property prices are down 4.5% from their peak in 2020-21. And the secondary prices are down 10%. That's for the country as a whole. However, anecdotal evidence suggests that in many cities it's down way more than 5 or 10%. So I think we've got to be a little bit careful about looking at the aggregate top-down numbers here. But the evidence is for sure that we've seen in March, and again this is very short-term data, so it's very hard to see whether it's going to carry on, but definitely we've seen a bit of an uptick in property prices in the top 20 or 30 cities in China during the course of March. So if that's sustainable, that could be an indicator that perhaps the worst is over. But it's too early to come to that conclusion, I think.